angry when movie trailers give away everything. It didn't used to be like this. Years and even decades ago, metaphorically speaking, like if you were given a sample of chocolate cake to try, see if you liked it, you'd be served a forkful with a cute little napkin. Nowadays, it's all about picking up the entire 3-tiered cake and throwing it at your mouth. And if it goes in, then they'll force it down your throat. Was that good? Aside from almost choking, they'd say, "You loved it, right?" Yeah. Well, here's one good example of what might have been in the hands of major studio marketing departments if this movie were made today.
And the climactic clash between good and evil. A spectacular new episode of the continuing Star Wars saga.
I am your father.
Wouldn't that make you want to unbolt the movie theater seat you're sitting in and throw it at the screen? Now, how did the trailer dump a major, over-the-top reveal on moviegoers? Well, here you go.
We're a sitting duck.
Join us on this, the final voyage of the Starship Enterprise.
Was it really necessary for Paramount Pictures to spill the biggest, most dramatic, eye-popping moment in the entire movie? I guess the question is, being that they needed a larger-than-life visual tool, how could the studio possibly top the gigantic success of 1982's The Wrath of Khan? The answer, sadly, in the years and sequels that followed, they just never could.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me tonight on a special Physical Media Coast to Coast. This is episode 13, I believe, or 14. And the reason that makes this so special is because we finally, our schedules coordinated, and I was able to invite my friend, trailer editor, filmmaker, David Blanchard, to the show.
Hey man, hey guys.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
And if anybody out there has any questions for David or myself, feel free to put your comments in the comments section, and we'll answer them, read them live on the show. It can be about filmmaking, about trailers, physical media, whatever it is within reason. So yeah, first I want to say condolences to you with your mom.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that very, very much. Yeah, I'm glad to finally have her ashes back. It's been a long time coming, but yeah, that's very comforting. And now I can get her back to upstate New York to lay her to rest next to my dad, who passed away in '86. So,
wow, yeah. Well, that's good, because that was a long time coming, or it took a long time to get her at. Yeah,
it did. Yeah.
And as you know, our dad passed away 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, coming this July.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And people. I used to always hear, time eases pain. Well, I'm learning that time doesn't really ease pain. You still have that pain, that grief with you, but you learn how to handle it better, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. You do. And as time passes, you learn how to cope with it. You learn how to process it. You learn how to either live with it or just, be able to put some of that aside. So,
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. So I just thought we would just hang out. Don't really have a specific topic tonight. I just thought we would hang out and see where the conversation goes. I will say that Wiggle USA, they did send me 3 copies of The Last Stop in Yuma County to give away. I'm only going to give away 1 copy tonight, and then I'm going to give away the other 2 in other live shows. So that'll be later on in the show. But yeah, let me ask you, I'm sure people are wondering, what in the world got you into trailer editing in the first place?
That's a good question. I think going back like many years ago, because I've been a movie fan since I was like 13, 14 years old. And I think once we got into a certain period of time, like, the 80s, MTV music videos, short form stuff, trailers especially, I always felt like I kind of had a passion. I had a real interest in short form editing, short form presentation like trailers, how unique they were, how stylized they were, and I just kind of grew a passion for that. I had the passion for films, but I loved the pop and flash of the trailers, or even just sometimes they were like short films. I'm like, this is a really cool medium, and it's definitely an art form all unto itself. And I think that certainly came from my love of film. Again, going back to when I was like 14, but it just suddenly trailers. I just got this real passion for it, and years ago I started kind of making my own, which a lot of people do now. Kind of making my own trailers from like old films and whatnot, and just doing some editing of some things in general, making little music videos with scenes from movies and stuff. But yeah, it was that just, I when I went back to school, which was 1997, my focus was on film editing feature films. And suddenly it was like, wait, I want to do that, but that much more. Hey, I love trailers and I want to cut those. So that was the focus of my career right out of when I got out of school.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Now, the little bits that I showed at the beginning of, hold on here, Bimbo Blue, I've told you this before, and you keep coming in here doing this. We keep politics out of this show. We don't talk about politics here, so please refrain from doing that. You keep doing it. If you're going to do it again, I'm going to have to block you. And I showed a little in my little intro before the show. I showed. I love what you do on your TikToks, where you show the differences of how different trailers used to be and how trailers are now. Where studios, and we talked about this in our interview with you, where studios have this feeling that they have to show everything in the movie in order to get butts and seats anymore. Or if they don't even believe in the movie, then they feel like they have to show the most important surprise in the movie to get butts and seats. I mean, like with Empire Strikes Back, you showed that in your TikTok that I showed at the intro of this video. That's exactly what they would have done today. They would have revealed the big surprise at the ending in the trailer today.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, that was probably, certainly I would say an exaggeration, and I have some more TikToks I'm going to be doing where, it's sort of revealing what a trailer might be like today, where big moments from films would be revealed. Like, I see dead people and knowing who he saw and what really happened, and in the crying game and all these reveals and trailers. And I want to do some more of those, of what those might look like today. But they're kind of exaggerations because it's so very true. We live in an age, which I think came about, I said in one of my TikToks, that I think the tide really turned with the 1996 Mission Impossible trailer, where you saw Tom Cruise, if you've seen that movie, where he's in the tunnel, the helicopter, the high-speed train, helicopter blows up and he gets slammed right in front of the camera. And you saw that again and again and again and again. And I saw that movie in the theater like opening week, and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see this. And then that scene happened, the train stopped. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. What's next? Oh, that was the end of the movie, really. Just the epilogue.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think studios are? Do you feel that studios are desperate now to get butts and seats, especially now that streaming? First of all, VOD. It's like a movie comes out 3 or 4 weeks after it's in theaters, and your everyday person. I have friends, and I was talking to a friend about this the other night, and he said, it's an easy $100, $150, $200 to take my family to see a movie at night, because we're eating, parking. If they go without the kids, you're paying for a sitter. So his point of view is, why would I spend $100 to go see a movie when I can just spend $20 or $30 rented at home in 3 weeks?
Yeah, which is true, and that's what's been happening with a lot of films, particularly. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us know about what happened with The Fall Guy, where they came out and it didn't do really as well as they really hoped it would, and I was really excited for the movie. And then suddenly, what was it, like 17 days later or whatever, like 3 weeks? It's like, oh, now it's on streaming. And that's a very dangerous thing, because you're basically telling people, even more so, you don't have to go to the theater, just wait for streaming. But that's the thing, the price of everything, the tickets. I went to see In-N-Out 2 last night, and I was amazed. I mean, I've got the AMC A-list membership. You pay $25 a month, and you get to see 3 movies a week. But I went in there, and it just happened to come up about the price for that movie, In-N-Out 2, and ticket prices even for like seniors, whatever, was like $24.95. And it's just that, like you said, and the cost of the food, maybe parking and whatnot. It's insanity. They're not helping the theaters. They really need to lower the prices and not be so greedy, or like they're trying to catch up or something.
Yeah. So, with your viewpoint, how do you think they can do that? I mean, how do you think theaters can actually? Because the main profit from theaters is concessions. I mean, that's really their main source of profit.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And so, everything's going up right now, especially after the pandemic. But
oh yeah, yeah.
Do you see a way where they could start lowering prices?
That really is a tough call, and I think there's a lot of people who are feeling right now that movies are too long. And I just saw there was one of the content creators that I follow on TikTok was saying, "Hey, here's a movie that just came out, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it might be Thelma. That was, it's an hour and 40 minutes long." And his point was, "Hey, look at this. I think people are tired of 2 hours and 15 minute, 2 hours and 30-minute movies, long movies, and maybe if they had." If movies were being made, this is not up to the theater chains. If movies were like 140 or an hour 45 as opposed to 2.5 hours, the theaters could have more showings and therefore make more money and not have the price be as high and crazy as it is.
Yeah, that's true. I can see that. Do you think that? I mean, the whole streaming thing. I think the studios just kind of shot themselves in the foot because I think they're finally seeing now it's not really going the way they planned. It's not sustainable because you're basically the only way you're making money and profit is subscriber base.
Well, yeah.
There's only so many people in the world that will subscribe to your platform, and then what? And
right, exactly, yeah.
And so
there's only so many people who will subscribe, and you're trying to attract more and more to make more money. But there could be a ceiling to that. It's not going to change. It's not going to go up. It can only go down.
Yeah. I think something really needs to change. I think it will as time goes on. But who's to say? Until it actually happens.
The thing that I've been pointing out a lot lately, is again something that Hollywood should do. And I was talking to some friends of mine in the industry where they're like, we don't think Hollywood is going to pay attention to this or change anything, which is really, really sad. And that is Godzilla -1. Godzilla -1. I mean, I adore, you've seen my TikToks. I adore that movie. I felt like that was the best movie of last year.
Oh, me too.
And so many great things I could go on forever about, but I won't here. But that it was a $15 million. And look at the special effects were like phenomenal. The movie was so good. The writing and the movie, everything about the movie was phenomenal. $15 million. And here we are making, in Hollywood, Godzilla X Kong. And it's what, $200 or $300 million. And, I went to see that and I forgot pretty much everything about it the minute I walked out of the theater, but it seems like Hollywood right now is kind of like the guy with the big car from a metaphoric standpoint. It's like, he's like, hey, I got a big car. I put a lot of work into it. And the important thing is that I put everything possible into this car that I'm building to make it like the most hopped up car so that I can come out in front of a parking lot or whatever, somewhere, stand out in the front of the car saying, look what I did to my car. Isn't this awesome? I put a ton of money into this. Yeah. And then he starts describing everything. It's like, but is the car any good? You may have put a lot of money into it, So that's the thing. I think Hollywood's like, look, we paid $300 million to do this. It's like, but is it any good? Well,
Yeah. Hollywood loves to flex. And that's been a big flex of theirs. My movie cost $300 million. Oh yeah, well mine's going to cost $400 million. Well, It doesn't matter if the audiences don't like it because you're not going to make your money back.
Right, you're not going to make your money back, exactly. And that's what's been happening with a lot of these films this summer, like Fall Guy, Furiosa. So many big movies that are like, this is going to be awesome. And then people are like, eh.
Yeah. Another issue that talking to a friend of mine, he was saying If I'm going to go and spend that amount of money, I want it to be worth it. I want to enjoy it and know that I'm going to enjoy it. So, am I
Right.
going to go see Kevin Costner's 3-hour Western that's a drama, or am I going to go see the next Avengers movie? He's going to go see the next Avengers movie because he knows he'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too. Is the I guess people call it the social media syndrome, where people want everything to happen like that,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and they don't have patience anymore for
That is so true. That is so true because movies back in the day, like the 70s and the 80s and everything like that, a movie would come out and maybe there'd be a slow burn. There'd be word of mouth. There'd be like a building of an audience. And now it's really about, you'd have movies like Jaws. Jaws was in theaters from June of 75 all the way until November of that year, riding along. Of course, you didn't have home theater, home entertainment. You didn't have at the time like VHS or now streaming. You didn't have any of those things. But it's like movies were able to build up, and now it is this whole fast, which I started noticing that when Man of Steel came out, it was like a day before Man of Steel came out or the day of, people were like, well, that's real cool. That's awesome. What's the next one going to be? It's like, okay, enjoy what you have right now. Don't be worrying about the next one. Appreciate this. Don't be like, that's great. And what's the next one? And that's it. It's all about, okay, you've lost me in 2 minutes here and I'm bored. So I'm going to move on to the next thing. That's the culture we're in right now because everything is so quickly accessible.
Yeah. And I keep thinking about, movies like the Jack Ryan movies, Hunt for October, Clear Present Danger. I don't think those could get made today because the studios are going to think it's too slow. No one's going to sit there for 2 hours and 15 minutes to watch this. And so, I mean, they actually did it where they made a Jack Ryan series on Amazon. And so,
exactly,
they're starting to do that instead of putting them in theaters. Let's take some comments here. Scotty, oh hey Scott, thanks for joining us. Scotty says the theater experience is worth it, but I have the benefit of Canadian audiences. So what's the difference between Canadian audiences and American audiences? More patience?
That's a good question. I'd love to get like more input on that from Scotty. Like what exactly does that mean? What are Canadian? Yeah, our Canadian audiences a little more giving on movies that aren't so good, and they're like, well, it was good enough. I don't know. Yeah.
Let us know, Scotty. Explain yourself. Let's see here. Daniel Marks. Hey, Daniel, thanks for joining us. Says, the time frame of movies going streaming is conditioning people to just wait. Without my A-list, I might even wait, and I love theaters. That's just what we were talking about. That's definitely true. Simon, my brother, he says, then you get movies like Horizon, which needs to be experienced in the theater. The only thing with that is that I've said that to some people, and they're like, I don't need to experience a Western in a theater. I can experience it just as well on my 74-inch OLED TV and my surround sound. Yeah, it's a Western. And I think people give Westerns a bad name because they think it's just slow and boring, when a lot of them aren't actually.
Right. Today, if Unforgiven, was that it? A Clint Eastwood. It was Unforgiven. Right. Yeah. Unforgiven or Dances with Wolves or anything like that were around today, it would go directly to streaming because the mentality would be like, oh, that's not going to work in the theater. Those are big hits. But today, no, it wouldn't. Which
is probably why Kevin Costner had to fund it partially himself to get it made. Because
right, exactly. And now he's doing it in a couple of parts. It's not just one part. I think one of the things you were talking about, like movies, about the streaming option is, and this was just my own personal thing, is again going back to the big movies that came out. They were like, oh, these are going to be hits. This is going to be a hit. That's going to be a hit. You had Fall Guy. Did okay. You had Furiosa, and you had like a couple of others that were, that didn't quite do as well. And this is my experience. I went to see those, like, oh, I'm so excited for those, can't wait. And well, it wasn't quite as good. And this one, oh, I'm so excited. Well, it wasn't quite as good. And then suddenly I'm like, well, June 7th, or I think that was the date. Hitman came out on Netflix, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I want to see that. That's like a summer movie, only it's on Netflix. And that I'm like, with those other big tentpole movies, I'm like, I can't wait for those. They were disappointments. Here I am sitting on my home theater seat, and that came on, and I watched it. I'm like, wow, that's the best movie of the summer. And it wasn't a big giant tentpole movie, you know. So I'm sitting at home on Netflix, and I'm like, okay, there was a good movie of the summer, you know.
And what's crazy is that it got so much buzz ahead of its release. I mean, critics were just raving about it.
Right.
So, you know, high marks on Rotten Tomatoes. People loved it when they saw early screenings, and I'm just thinking, why would you not want to put that in theater, especially after such critical praise of it?
Yeah. Right.
I would have loved to have seen that in theater.
Right. And Glenn Powell is huge right now. And they did, you know, anybody but you came out at the beginning of the year with him and Sydney Sweeney, and that just was a surprise hit. You know? So, and like Glenn Powell, he's on fire right now. And of course, coming up next month is Twisters. He's in so much great stuff. But yeah, it went to Netflix. That could have done well in the theater, maybe, you know.
And now, a week after it's been on Netflix, it's buried. Nobody's even talking about it, which is such a shame.
That's another part of, like, you know, fast consumption of media, and let's move on, you know. That again, same thing with Godzilla -1. I mean, that popped up, you know, again, that hit without any ramp up, without any announcement. Suddenly it's just like, oh, it's on Netflix now. And also you can buy it on iTunes and so forth, which of course I was thrilled over. I was like, oh my God. And it just dropped without any attention or anything. But I was watching the top 10 on Netflix, and I saw there it was number one. But you got to the third day, and suddenly there was like that shark movie in Paris was number one. And then now you look like, what is it, a week later or something, a week and a half later, Godzilla -1 is not even on the top 10. It's like,
it's not even there.
Where did that go, you know?
Yeah. So, it's kind of like theater. They used to understand that word of mouth, that movies have legs, and word of mouth gets movies. You know, if just because the opening weekend may not be where you want it to be, doesn't mean that it's not going to be a hit a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, another example is Godzilla -1. I mean, if it wasn't for word of mouth, I don't think it would have lasted in theaters as long as it did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went opening day. I knew nothing about it, and I'm like, you know, because I love Godzilla. I can't say I'm a huge Godzilla fan, but I love Godzilla movies. I didn't know what to expect, and I walked in there, and I'm like, we get to the end of the movie, and I'm like, how many napkins do I have left? Because I need Kleenex right now. You know, it was like, I need. If I'm going to go see it again, I'm going to make sure that my pockets are stuffed with Kleenex, and certainly I did that. You know, but word of mouth, surprise hit that came out, and it just took off all on its own.
And you know what that movie proved too, is that you can have the human story be just as exciting as seeing a monster. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was all about, and it wasn't about, like, you know, Godzilla was the savior. Godzilla is the bad guy. Godzilla is, I mean, not to go on too long about it, but I mean, you know, Godzilla is, as a lot of people have gathered when you watch it, Godzilla is a metaphor for post-war survivor's guilt, post-war trauma and whatnot. And we got to get through this by taking out Godzilla. And he's actually there, of course, in the movie, but he's also a metaphor. He's a symbol of, you know, like the lines like, is your war finally over? And that's it. The war's going on in his head, you know.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean, it was just incredible. And I actually didn't see the color version. I saw the black and white version.
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to make of it, because I'm thinking, you know, sometimes when you film something in color and then you transition it to black and white, some areas may look good, but other areas don't. Like, you can tell it was not shot for black and white. This movie, I was so surprised by it. It felt like it was shot for black and white.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
To me, it felt like it was shot black and white, and then they colorized it for a wide release. That's what it felt like to me. And the music sounded like the old 1950s, 1960s score.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, they brought back the Godzilla theme in all its true glory. They didn't try and update it, and that was like, you know, that movie came on. like when the girl was on the train and she turned around and she's like, "Is that Godzilla?" And then, and I sat there going, "Yes, thank you, the music." I mean, even the music made me excited.
It was so great, so great. Speaking, since this is a physical media show, I have to announce that the last thing I did hear about Godzilla -1 being on physical media is in September, is what I've been hearing through the grapevine. No word if it's going to be 4K.
September, yeah.
Yeah, not sure if it's. I'm assuming it's going to be 4K, but you know what assume means. And so it could be just Blu-ray or 4K, I don't know. But what I really hope is they include the black and white version. I hope they include both the color and black and white.
Yes. And a ton of behind the scenes, please. I mean, I've seen stuff on YouTube, but there should be a ton. I'm hoping that there's going to be a ton of behind the scenes stuff because I'll just eat all that up. Yeah.
And I'm hoping for a commentary at least.
Yeah, commentary. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Japan released one a month ago, I believe. It was like a huge 4-disc set. The only problem was it did not include English subtitles.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have bought in that last month. But English subtitles, we have to wait still. Daniel says here, my kids can't stand movie theater experience, the waiting of and ad reel, then trailers, then want to click and play. They want to click and play and get entertained immediately. No downtime. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just the time we're in right now. The time period we're in.
It's true. It is true. Yeah, and now you're getting 20 or 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Of that. Like, okay, movie starts at 7:00, but the movie doesn't actually start until maybe 7:25 after all of the trailers and the intros. And if you go to AMC theaters, Nicole Kidman and every other thing that comes on. I mean, I love that spot. I love that Nicole Kidman thing. I mean, I sit there with a smile on my face whenever she looks at the camera, because here they are.
Well, it's really well done.
Yes, I love that. It makes me feel welcome. But yeah, for kids, I totally get that with families.
Oh.
The kids want to, let's get to what's going on. And you go into theaters and you see a lot of times people, you're like, I know this show is almost sold out. Why is nobody here yet? And then you see them start to come in 20 minutes after the start time because they know there's a ton of content before.
Well, and also that makes it even easier now that we can just reserve our seats ahead of time.
Yeah.
It used to be back in the day, we wanted to get there early so we got a good seat. Now we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've done that too, yeah.
Yeah, and if a movie starts at 7, I don't need to be there until 7:25, 7:20,
right.
7:20, 7:30. And actually, the longest I went was literally 45 minutes in trailers. And
45 minutes? Oh my God.
I timed it because I'm like, let's see how long this is. And it was literally 45 minutes worth of trailers where in the middle, about 30 minutes in, I yelled out, "Is there an actual movie playing?"
Yeah.
It got a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, it's just like,
I would have probably thought that too. Yeah.
Let's see. Metal Matt. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining us. Says Furiosa was so much fun. It's such a shame that it bombed. Oh, I loved Furiosa. Furiosa was so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much. And I even went back a second time. I'm like, I really wanted to like this movie. I want to give it a second chance. And I did enjoy it the first time. And I enjoyed it a little bit more the second time. It's like, okay, that was good. But I wanted to go right back and see Fury Road.
Yeah.
I felt that Fury Road is better. So
yeah, somebody asked me why I thought it bombed the most. Some people are saying because Mad Max isn't in it. Well, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that number one, they waited too long to get it out. It was like 9 years after Fury Road, so the anticipation kind of cooled off. And I think there was also I think it was also a little too long, 2 hours and 30 minutes. It was a little too long there.
It was long. It was definitely long. It didn't really need to be that long.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were other issues. There were just other issues with the film. I mean, the short version of that is that I personally felt as though it should have been like, all of the things that happened to her, the trials and whatever you want to call it, all the way up to right before she went to the Citadel, and then she goes to the Citadel, and that's maybe another story. But it's like, let's see where she came from. But it just seemed like they went too much into the previous movie territory.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do like Fury Road better, but I loved Furiosa mainly technically wise. Like, there's a lot of movies where I say I
oh
love
yeah,
this movie, but it was mainly because of technical, like the cinematography. Oh, it's just gorgeous, and
oh
the
I
use of
totally agree.
colors,
Yeah,
and
yeah. The
and
cinematography, the characters, everybody in it was fantastic. Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth has now proven that he can do character
oh,
roles. I mean, look what he did
he
in
was
that. He was like so
great in that.
standout.
Yeah,
The cinematography, the art direction, the costumes, yeah, and music. There were so many great things. I think just the story, that was kind of the thing that I think is the
yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And to speak of the turnaround time, it's already going to be on streaming. I think next week, is it?
Oh, I
And
hadn't heard that. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and on VOD, and I just
Yeah.
got a press release from Warner Brothers. It's out on 4K August 13th. I'm like, dang, that's
Wow.
fast. The
That's
Watchers, I
that's
got a press
crazy
release for
fast.
that too,
Yeah.
for August, and that just came out a week ago, and
Yeah, that's insane.
I didn't
That's
see the
really insane.
movie, but it's
Yeah.
like I told one friend, I said maybe it shows how bad a movie is that the turnaround time is so quickly. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
well, it does. It speaks volumes because if people see that when a movie is coming out, oh yeah, it's going to be out in a month and a half. People say, oh, see, that movie's not worth my time to go to the theater. We'll just wait for streaming, and
exactly,
that just kicks the movie theaters in the butt and
yeah.
causes them stress. Yeah,
Yeah. There's
yeah.
one other question I'm going to ask a little bit later about your opinion on is it Sony acquiring Animal Draft House? But I want to get to these comments first here. So, Scotty says Canadian audiences are quieter. Okay, so they're not as
Okay,
they're more reserved.
they're more
Uh,
reserved. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I know audiences, particularly if it's a Marvel film, or particularly if it's a big movie, on opening night, like a Thursday night or something. You obviously you'll get the audience is like really pumped, and they'll make a lot of noise. But maybe I think what Scotty was also talking about is phone use, talking
yeah,
during the movie or interacting or whatever. Yeah, I think now that that's been mentioned, I think that that's probably part of it as well.
yeah.
Respect for the film and for other people around you.
Exactly. And I mean, it's so bad where Simon and I, we're fortunate enough where we're able to see movies during the day. So it's like we usually pick the right time where we know nobody's going to be there to go see a movie, and it's enjoyable. I mean, and that's a shame too, because movies are a communal experience, and it's like the Avengers Endgame, that ending
Right.
when everybody was cheering in the theater.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You would miss that if you went to go see it during the day when no one was there.
Yeah,
And
exactly, exactly. And you don't get that at home.
yeah,
I mean, that was like
exactly.
genuinely a very cinematic, resonant moment that, I mean,
Or if you
I had that.
or if you're watching with your wife and you're going like, yeah, and she's just kind of looking at her phone, you're like, oh, okay, I'm by myself.
Right, yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Let's see, Metal.
You can't get that at home.
Yeah, exactly. Metal Matt says Hitman was a lot of fun. Glad to see Linklater still putting out fantastic films. Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Linklater was definitely again in a great element for him to do this movie, and it was and there were moments where in someone else's hands it could have been predictable, because I watched that movie and there were certain moments I'm like, oh, I bet you it's this, or oh, this may happen. Not like it was predictable. I'm like, this could happen next, or oh, you know what? I think she might be ...
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't, and it was refreshing and surprising.
Well, what I like,
you
I didn't know anything about it. I just knew he was a hitman, and so I went in thinking a typical hitman story. He's a hitman. He falls in love with his target. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
We've seen it, done it. So, but it's not. It's completely the opposite of what I thought it was.
Right. Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Since it's new, I'm not going to give any spoilers. But guys, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. It was great.
It's such a great fun movie, and also Glenn Powell talking about like Chris Hemsworth showing that he can do character roles. Glenn Powell just like busted out in this movie to show that he can do a lot of different looks and styles and characterizations. He's not just, hey, I'm the hunky man in the movies.
Yeah.
He's got a range of being fun and goofy.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's really easy to get typecast in that, especially if you're doing a romantic comedy, which he did earlier this year, and you get
Yeah.
typecast as that hunky, guy. But
Right.
like you said, he showed range. He can do accents. He can do multiple
Yeah.
different types of characters.
Yeah.
Metal Matt goes on to says Godzilla versus -1 was probably the most pleasant surprise of last year for me. The Godzilla film I didn't know we needed. 100% there.
Yeah, absolutely,
Um,
100% there. We needed that movie, and it just was such a big surprise. It came totally out of the blue. Maybe you're going in expecting, okay, this is going to be a Japanese, not an American version Godzilla movie, so it's going to be a little more in that vein with newer effects and stuff. But then to go into it and be like, wow, the surprise,
I was blown
really
away.
not knowing the depth of it. Yeah, exactly.
Just completely blown away. I mean, just the opening alone shows you what you're in for.
Yeah, the opening alone, exactly.
And don't let subtitles stop you from going to see a movie.
Right, exactly. It's like I subtitles never, I love all kinds of movies, from like the big blockbusters, Marvel and the tentpole movies, all the way to international films and small indie films and whatnot. If it's really good, yeah, I'll embrace it. But yeah, subtitles, maybe it takes a couple of minutes to get used to, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and I've had people say, well, I don't want to read while I watch a movie. I just want to watch the movie. Well, honestly, if the story's compelling enough and you're into it, it's
Right.
you don't even notice the subtitles. You don't notice you're actually
Yeah.
reading subtitles as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
Daniel says, I think the movie industry is really hurting due to the physical media marketplace. You don't have a second release window like you'd used to. DVD sales used to save movies that did poorly in theaters.
That's so true. During the DVD bubble of like the mid, whatever they call that decade now, the O's, 2000s, that was a saving grace period where you'd have a movie come out and it was supposed to be big, and then, well, it did okay, and then it comes out on DVD where maybe they really pump up the behind the scenes featurettes or additional content, or it's a 2-disc thing, and so that's where they make the money back, would be in that type of release. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they make as much money back now today as they used to?
That's hard to say. I think it really does vary. I don't think there is a format now or a formula, because I think streaming is taking some of that away. As streaming is taking on it's taking on its own worth of being able to help a film. But I don't know. I think not really taking it away, but I mean, there's a balance now. There's like different types of films that are getting it's a Blu-ray release, and I think that the physical media, the people who are in physical media, like you guys and such, which is fantastic, that's really a great way to go. But physical media is almost getting like people who love vinyl. It's like, hey, we want physical media, streaming, downloads, that's now. But it's almost like, how vinyl came back and suddenly now everybody's like, vinyl is awesome and we have record players. It almost seems like physical media at times smacks of that a little bit, like, we want the physical, the disc and the whole thing,
Well, since we're talking physical media, let's get into some physical media here, because I'm sure people as well as I do, where they're like, there's really no difference. How much better can it really be between a physical disc and streaming? And my go-to answer is, number one, first of all, a 4K disc ranges between 60 up to 120 Mbps, megabytes per second. Streaming, on the other hand, goes between 18 to 25. If 30 is pushing it. So right there shows how much better quality a physical disc can take. Also, like a 4K disc, 60 to 100 gigabytes. And I know this personally because, who was it? 20th Century Studios actually sent me a file with Prey on it because I wanted to do a 4K disc versus streaming comparison. And so they actually sent me their file on a thumb drive. Take a guess how big the file was. Just guess.
My God. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could guess.
4 gigabytes.
4 gigabytes. Wow.
4 gigabytes.
Okay.
And the disc, 4K disc, is 100. I mean, it's insane.
4 gigabytes. Give me a break.
Right?
Yeah, That's crazy. And there
that's
are a lot
like
of movies now that are like that, where it's like 1.8 or 2 gigabytes. Some movies are like that, you know.
Yeah. I always tell people 4K on streaming, you're basically watching Blu-ray quality. Blu-ray quality, you're actually watching DVD quality. Is similar what you can compare it to.
Right.
So one thing I wanted to announce, and this is dropping tomorrow actually, not Vinegar Syndrome, MVD is a boutique studio. They put out a lot of great stuff. I've gotten to know Eric, who runs, he's like the head guy over there. And like 2 months ago, they were releasing Ghoulies 2, of all things, on 4K, which is coming out July 9th. He called me up and he's like, hey man, would you like an early exclusive look at the 4K disc? And he's like, that way you can give you ample time to review it. You can do a comparison between our Blu-ray and the 4K, and I think that'd be great. So I'm like, no, not at all. I'm like, yeah, definitely. so he sent me the check discs of Ghoulies 2 on 4K, and it also includes the director's cut, which I don't think was ever released. So I actually finished it today, and it's going to launch. He asked me to wait till about 2 weeks before the release date. So tomorrow I'm going to be releasing the video. But I thought I'd just give a really quick sneak peek at what it looks like. So this is now. I don't know if you can see it here. No, you can't see it. For some reason, you can't see it here. But there's a lot of damage. Like on the right-hand side is the Blu-ray. Left-hand side is the 4K. And on the Blu-ray, if you look real carefully, I don't know how well you can see it on this thing, but there's a lot of damage there, a lot of lines and a lot of damage there that they cleaned up, and it looks fantastic. They redid the color reproduction. Let's see here. This is a good one there. So much brighter colors, more vibrant, more life to it. More detail within the puppet work. So it's like, for a movie that was an independent, I think Charles Band produced it, film for direct-to-video, it has no right to look this good in 4K. So that's going to drop tomorrow morning. So guys, keep an eye out for it, because it's interesting to see the differences there. Another one is Vinegar Syndrome. They sent me the China O'Brien box set on 4K. I don't know. Have you ever seen these movies? Have you ever heard of these movies?
I've heard of China O'Brien. Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, I have heard of both those films. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of this film before until it was announced from Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, I have heard of that movie. I have, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they released this in 4K, and I was thinking to myself, because they just had the DVD here in the States. And I thought, you know what? Eureka put out a 4K last year of the movie. So how about if I did a 4K versus 4K comparison, pitting studio against studio? And so I reached out to a friend of mine, Chris, over at Overly Honest Review, and he actually had a check disc from Eureka of the 4K of China O'Brien. And so I'm doing a 4K versus 4K comparison of it. I think that'd be a really cool case study to show the differences between the two studios. And what's interesting is that Eureka, they actually put China O'Brien parts 1 and 2 and all the extras on one disc. Vinegar Syndrome gave each movie its own disc with special features. So right there, the quality is going to be better on Vinegar Syndrome just because they're on their individual disc. They have more room on the disc. So that's just a couple sneak peeks of what is coming soon to the channel. Let's go ahead and do this giveaway. And I haven't thought about how to do it. Let's do this. All right. So if anyone's interested in this last stop in Yuma County, let me know in the comments, what was Jim Cummings' first film that he wrote and directed? let me know in the comments, and then I will choose a winner. And follow me on my social media, which is just at Paul_TwinFlix, and then I'll choose a winner. So let me know that. It's not too hard because I'm sure you can Google it. But is there anything that you're interested in that's coming out soon on physical media?
Well, I mean, probably, I would like to check out, again, it's coming back to Godzilla -1. I mean, when that hits in September, which sounds like those are the rumors, is that I will definitely get that, because they're going to, I'm sure, or hopefully they'll have like a lot of additional content in there. And so far, so far, what I've heard is that it sounds like there is going to be some behind the scenes stuff. I'm hoping that because of the popularity of the film, there'll be a lot of that. I would love to see, talking about something I'm looking forward to, is that I would love to see them do, even though I don't know if they could do any more than they have already, because there's been a ton of it. But this year in November, December is the 50th anniversary of Irwin Allen's The Towering Inferno. Oh, and yes, they did put out
that would be cool.
DVD and a Blu-ray, and and I own that. And there's like BTS like crazy on that 2-disc set. I think it's 2 discs.
Yeah, it is.
It's 2 discs. Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of content on there, which I love. It's so much stuff I'd never seen before. So I would love if they came out with a big honking Blu-ray physical media release for that in honor of the 50th anniversary when we get later in the year. And maybe there might be some new perspective on it, and maybe it'll be a new transfer. So that's something. I haven't heard anything about that, but I would love if they did that. Yeah. That's one thing that I really miss. Back in the day when there would be like the 20th anniversary, studios would go all out on that. I mean, they would do these big box sets. They would include all this stuff, all the behind the scenes interviews, everything you could want. Like Tron, Disney put out that huge box set that, I mean, the laser disc in the 90s. They came out with the big white box set. Yeah. I had that. I don't have it now, but I had that. Yeah.
Yeah, we did too. The closest thing I can think about it now is The Godfather, with their 50th anniversary. Paramount put out that big black book set, and then Titanic had a nice box for their 4K release. But generally, studios just are not. They're just not putting out. They're not celebrating these films' anniversaries anymore like they used to.
No, and you think they would, and there's some that they have really diminished, not given enough credence to, and there's some movies that did really well for them, even like years ago, or a couple of decades ago, where they won't give it a proper Blu-ray or DVD. And and just before I tangent off with that, is just that one of my favorite movies of all time is Foul Play. Chevy Chase, Goldie Hawn, 1978. That movie was the #1 movie for a long time throughout the entire summer into the fall of that year. It was a huge, huge hit for Paramount. And I was overjoyed when they came out with physical media, which was, I'd have to look again. It was only a couple of years ago. I think maybe 2 years ago, that it came out on Blu-ray for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, shut up and take my money. And I'm thankful for it. And I'm like, oh my God, finally. But there's nothing on there. I think there might be the trailer. And it's like, dude, these actors are still, Chevy Chase, Goldie Hawn, and a lot of these people are still around. Give it what's due. So that's the thing I'm talking about, because it did used to be with DVD. There was all these anniversaries. Here's the 25th anniversary, the 20th anniversary, whatever like that. And now they're not so keyed into that as much as they used to be. And it's like, come on, this is a moneymaker. You should really do like Footloose. A lot of movies. Where did they do anything big? I haven't been paying attention to like Ghostbusters. Did they do? This was the 40th anniversary this month. No. Was anything big come out?
All that they did was just re-release it in a steelbook. That's it. That's all they did. And I'm just thinking, dude, what are you? It used to be
opportunity.
We used to celebrate these, especially when it's 40 years since Ghostbusters came out.
Right.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, it came out in 81, right?
81,
Yeah, so 40 years for that, and nothing,
Right.
nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I
There was something,
mean,
you know. Yeah.
and it's a shame. And I mean, I only give
It
it
is.
to only I give it to is that maybe studios just don't want to fork over the money for it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they think
Yeah.
that your average guy buying it doesn't care about this stuff, so why spend the money on it? Which is wrong
Yeah.
because there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that love watching all the behind the scenes.
Right. Exactly. And
But
next year is the 50th anniversary of Jaws, and
yeah,
that's the movie that started the summer blockbuster that
yep.
reinvented Hollywood, and it should get some big honking release,
You would
celebration,
think so.
acknowledgement. They should go all out on Jaws. We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
That deserves to have like, hey, this changed Hollywood as well as being the 50th anniversary. You know, even though
Well,
of the three, the only actor that's still alive of the three main cast is Richard Dreyfuss, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that they're just now releasing the other three movies on 4K. I'm thinking to myself, why don't you wait until next year,
Right.
when you could actually do something really big with it?
Yeah.
You know,
Get everybody's attention then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So I don't know, but that's why I love these boutique studios like Kino, Lorber, Shot Factory, Arrow Video.
Oh yeah.
They're
Shout Factory. You know, I agree. I agree.
yeah, because
Absolutely.
they're always putting out all they're put. You know, I've gotten to know the guys over at Kino Lorber, the guys over at MVD, and they're just as big of movie fans and physical media fans as we are, and so
Yeah.
they know what we
Right.
want, and they give it to us. I mean,
Yeah.
Conan.
Oh, they do. Yeah. Hell
I mean,
yeah, they give it to us. They come from being, like you said, true and genuine cinephiles. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I was
Yeah.
blown away with Arrow's Conan box set. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I have people saying to me, physical media is dead. Nobody cares about physical media. And then I got this in yesterday from Unearthed Films. And now I'm going to start saying, if you think physical media is dead, then why did they release The Guyver in 4K?
Yeah.
That 1990 movie with Mark Hamill?
Right. Yep.
It's like, this shows physical media is not dead, that they actually
Yeah.
poured money into releasing this on 4K.
Right. Yep.
And not just that, they released it as a limited collector's edition. It comes with a CD soundtrack, the score of the film.
Oh, wow.
Comes with a
Yeah.
poster, booklet, and
Yeah.
so yeah. I mean, physical media is not dead.
No,
Studios
it's far from dead. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Another thing I got yesterday, Sony sent me. This is another one that just this year celebrates their 40th anniversary. Karate Kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all that they did was just they have a new commentary. I haven't heard it yet. And then all they did was just re-release the 4K in like this mock-up of a VHS cover.
Right.
That's all they did. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like these movies are pop cultural icons.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
you know,
Yeah.
It's
It's
just-
like milk. You know, you want to make more money, milk them for all they're worth. you
right?
know?
Because people like me, and I'm sure you yourself, will double dip, triple dip. I've quadruple
Oh yeah.
dip.
Yeah.
You know,
Which was the way of it. And I was going to say that earlier. Is remember when one of the movies that was the most released on DVD at that time was Army of Darkness. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that on physical
Oh,
media.
yeah.
Army of Darkness got like 4 or 5 releases again and again, and now it's this box, and now it's the expanded this, and now the director's cut. And it's just like, yeah, here comes another one. Yeah, here comes another
Yeah.
one. Or the Mummy. The Mummy got a ton
yeah.
of, the first Mummy
Tons of
movie,
them.
Brendan Fraser, again and again and again and again. It was just like, wow, the cow is kind of dry now on.
yeah. And guess what? I bought all of them.
Right, and with respect, I mean, I did that with some titles too, where I would buy all of something that would come out. Maybe there'd be 3 versions. Whatever. Oh, I'm getting that. Yep, I'm getting that. Yep,
Yeah.
I'm getting that. Yeah,
Right.
I did it too. A lot of people I know did it. Yeah.
One thing, one studio that's kind of doing it themselves is A24. there's a
Yeah.
lot of movies where they're not releasing widely. It's only available from their website only. So like that Zone of Interest, nominated for Best Picture, Best Director. I haven't seen the film personally, but I just hear it's incredible film, and they're only distributing it through their website only. And
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that kind of hurts it a little bit because number one, their prices are basically retail, so it's like $40 for
Right.
it.
Yeah.
When on Amazon, it'd probably be 25. Um,
Mm.
and then it's kind of like I don't want to go in there and go through their steps to try to get this 4K, and then you find out, well, if you join them for $5 a month, you get 10% off. Okay, I guess I'll join them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I do think, because I've heard other people say, oh, I don't want to go through all that. Can't I just buy it on Amazon? No, sorry. Well, then I guess I just won't buy it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Right.
like, it's on one hand, it's
Yeah.
kind of
That's
cool, but on the other hand, it's kind of hurting it too.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that. That makes sense. And that is a really uh, brilliant movie, Zone of Interest. It's
is
a
it?
very hard hitting. It's there's a chilling, unsettling is better. The movie is unsettling, and half of the reason, if not more, is the sound. And I was cheering for it too. I was so glad when it won the Oscar for Best Sound, because the sound of what's going on over the wall and off in the distance is the thing that brings the unsettling nature of the movie alive.
Wow.
It's all this stuff you don't see that's happening in the background, and maybe there's like it doesn't give anything away to say, like, maybe some screams way off in the distance, or somebody shouting in German and some gunfire, or somebody yelling, and you'd hear this constant the rumbling of the incinerators going all the
Wow.
time in the background, they're living, the commandant and his family are living next to a factory. Oh, but it just happens to be Auschwitz, and it's just
Wow.
that is the audio, because you never go over the wall. You're always with the
Okay.
family. That's the thing, and I doesn't give too much
Wow.
away, but you
Oh.
hear stuff that's just way off, and that's unsettling. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I've heard it's just a technical achievement
yeah,
in
it is.
sound
And how they
design.
filmed it too. I'm sure you heard about all the cameras. They had the house and the yard, and they had all these cameras that were just set up that took captured footage of them, and there was nobody from the crew that was in these rooms. They were all in another place, and they would direct the actors. But there were all these cameras that were set up, and there were sometimes that were digitally removed from a shot. But they were just all there in the house for the actors to walk through and create this atmosphere and characters. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Metal Matt says Zone of Interest had such impeccable use of sound design, so much communicated just through the sound.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah, there was so much that you heard and that you felt and that you were aware of, and you were paying attention to what was going on in the foreground of the story, the characters, and everything like that. But you just always heard these little things that were going on, or just the constant roar of the furnaces, like I said.
Wow.
And it's all right there, but because you don't go there, that's what makes it even more chilling, because your imagination is filling in the blanks of what you're hearing. So, yeah. Sound design in that was just impeccable.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
one
I agree.
that's one I am definitely going to pick up. Another one is, I don't know if you saw this, Love Lies Bleeding. Did you check that one out in
Yeah,
theater?
I did see that. I did see that in the
Oh.
theater. Yeah, yeah.
I love that movie, and it's another
Yeah.
one that A24 only put out themselves, and that's some great artwork there.
Oh, yeah.
And what's nice though is that A24 may be more expensive, but their packaging and what they include in the packaging is worth it. You got this exclusive artwork. It also comes with some lobby cards and some other cool stuff on there. So
And
I think it's
I've
like
seen that. I've seen those. Somebody had pulled out in a video. I saw on TikTok. Somebody was pulling out the cards. I'm like, wow, this is really nice. Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of like I like A24, but I think they would do better if they had a more wide release to their
Right.
media.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I love and adore A24. I greatly admire what they're doing, the direction they're going in, and even speaking for myself as a trailer editor, their trailers are probably amongst my favorites because every single one you see is like, it's very unique. It's very well crafted. It's sometimes it's edgy. Sometimes they show stuff in there that's like, here's this and that, like Bo. Great, what was the name of the Joaquin Phoenix movie? That's terrible. I can't remember the name. Bo is Afraid. That's
Bo is Afraid.
Bo is Afraid. So the trailer for that, and there was some unsettling. Oh, what's this? And you're not getting any story, but you're like, I don't know what this is about, but I got to go and see it. And there's so many of those trailers that doesn't show barely any story. It's imagery and characters and maybe a theme, but there's so much left out, and that's brilliant on their part. And I just adore A24.
Well, that's like Love Lies Bleeding. I love that trailer to that film because it didn't tell you what was going on, but you had an idea, and it really made me. Those are the trailers that make me want to go see a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Simon, actually, Matt already follows me on Instagram, so he knows how to get hold of me. But yeah, if you guys just joined us, I'm talking here with David Blanchard, who is a trailer editor, and we're just talking about physical media and trailers. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comment section, and we'll answer them and read your comments. I mean, it's just. Oh, let me ask you this question though, and I don't know if you've with AI, and I'm hearing that I've seen some trailer editors or trailer houses online starting to worry that AI is going to take over the job of the trailer editor. What do you think? How do you feel?
I've heard that as well. That AI will take over the job of trailer editors, of editing in general, can do that. Yeah.
Well, even
that's very possible.
Well, even here with my, I'm a one-man operation, and all the stuff that I do, but yet I use Adobe Premiere, and they're already advertising to download, try out their AI, and I can just load in the images, and then boom, it can just take care of it. Do everything. And I'm like, I don't want to do that because it just, to me, it just takes away that human feeling. I mean, it may look good, but it's just your brain knows it's not the same.
Right. Exactly. I have a, hang on one second. I've got two drives here. There we go. But I had to turn off because it's just side note, because it's so hot. Here I am in California. That I'd never seen that happen before. I have two external drives that are like multi-terabyte, and usually they have like they're C drives, and they have a little round, of green. It's always green, and then when you open them up, you see them flash. They come on, and they were both red. I've never seen that before. I've never seen the light on there be red. So I'm.
Oh no!
They're really hot. I just turned them off.
Boy, hopefully it didn't overheat.
Yeah, I know. I'm just a little worried about that. So I bumped them and I turned them off. So anyway, go ahead. I had to reach over and turn those off.
Oh, that's fine. No problem. Daniel asked a question here. Talking about A24 trailers, is there a trailer that you think really hurt a release recently?
I
can think of one. I think that one of Fall Guy, may have hurt the release because it looked like a seen it done it comedy before. At least to me it did. It just didn't really, it did not make me want to go see the movie. It just looked like, it's another, Ryan Gosling's funny, but it's another thing action comedy movie. I've seen it a billion times. What do you think?
I don't know. I really like the trailer. For the Fall Guy. It definitely grabbed my attention, and they were playing the Journey song, Any Way You Want It. Yeah. Which almost became like when you heard that song, you thought of the movie during the period of time of the marketing for that film. And that's an interesting question. Is there a trailer that I think really hurt a release recently? I mean, one trailer I think of that I think really, sometimes trailers will communicate to audiences that, hey, the studio knows this movie's bad and it's not going to go well. And because they will either show too much, give too much away, too much plot point or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the fans didn't see it this way, but I think the Marvels, when that came out, somewhat recent. I know that was.
Well, I tell you that,
but I mean, that trailer was very much like they were very much playing off of Thanos, Tony Stark doing the snap, and a lot of Avengers stuff. And then they're like, oh, but you know, things are really not over because there's stuff really still going down out in the universe. And that really spoke to me like, wow, they know that this is crap because they're pulling so many scenes and moments and stuff. They're like, hey, Thanos, Tony Stark, the Avengers, come on into the theater because we know this is BS and they got to get you into the seat. So I almost think that was kind of like a warning sign, maybe. I mean, that wasn't an A24 trailer. It was an A24 film, obviously. But I think that a trailer like that may have really signaled to audiences, for someone who's savvy enough, who would say, look at what they're doing. They're trying to get your attention with these other characters, but these other movies that were good, to get you to come into this theater. And that's like a warning sign for people to not show up.
Yeah, I've noticed that if the trailer tries too hard to grab your attention, it usually means it's not a good movie.
Right.
What about the opposite? What's a trailer you thought looked great and you went in thinking this is going to be a great movie, but it turned out to be a stinker?
Well, I would probably say, in my opinion, The Matrix Resurrections.
Really? Yeah.
I think that's the first one that comes to mind. I know that was
I
like
agree with that.
while back. Is that was the trailer? I loved the trailer. I thought the trailer was so well crafted. There was so many really cool and stylistic and brilliant and using the Jefferson Airplane song, where the lyrics really did speak to, obviously, to the Matrix. You know, the rabbit and all of those things. When you hear the lyrics and how they edited clips from the movie to the song, was really so well done. And then they had they took the song, instrumental part of the song, and then they were adding in orchestral stuff of what you were kind of used to, that sort of sound of the Matrix movies. And like, wow, that looks amazing. And then you go into the film, and again, some people loved it, some people hated it. And I just went in, I'm like, oh, okay, well, the trailer was the best thing about this movie.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah, we've all been there where we leave a movie and you're like, oh, the trailer's better than the movie. Simon asks, how long does it take you to finish a teaser or trailer? And how many do you work on simultaneously?
Usually, it really depends. If we do like a first cut of a trailer for a film, usually, I mean, for starters, the first, we'll go and watch the movie and make notes. The studio will give us their take on what direction they want to go, what they want to show, what they don't want to show. And then it probably takes like a week to do that first cut and to polish it up before it goes before the studio. But depending on what kind of film it is, and depending on how much that the studio monkeys around with it and wants it to be how they think it should be or how it best promotes the film, that could be a few weeks, several weeks. It could be a month. Sometimes it could be 2 months. If the studio is like, okay, yeah, we like this, but we're a little confused. What do we want to do? Is this what we want to do? I think we need to think about a bit amongst ourselves, and then we'll come back and pick up the trailer in like a month or a few weeks or something like that. And then we'll go and work on something else. So there are times where I've seen, because usually if I'm on the trailer, it's like, that's the only thing I'm doing. And then if we have some downtime where we're like, you know what, we got the cutout by lunch for the studio to look at, they're not going to come back for another day or maybe a day and a half to give us notes. So let's get you started on this while you're waiting, and maybe you're working on another trailer or a social media spot or whatever. So working on one trailer yeah, I mean, it could be within a month that it would go out the door. But if the studio is dragging their heels, or maybe they don't know what to do with it, or maybe they're like, we can't save this movie, or there's too many cooks in the kitchen, maybe it might be a couple of months before they finalize.
Yeah. Yeah. One trailer that I loved that really did not tell you anything about the movie was Wicked Little Letters. Wicked Little Letters.
Okay.
Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen that movie. No.
So I did not see it in the theater. Sony actually sent me the DVD of it that came out. Watched it the other night, and man, that movie is incredible. So good. And the trailer was just like made it. I don't know. It's like I didn't know really what to make up of the trailer, and it didn't look like anything special. But then I started hearing word of mouth, like we were talking about before. Started hearing more word of mouth about it, and people started talking about how great it is. It stars Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley, and so you're right there. You know the movie's gonna hit with those two actresses, and it is a really great little movie, really well done. It's one of those you have to see. So yeah, I'm going to be actually doing a little review about it in the next week, but yeah, I highly recommend it. Going to see. Well, I think you can rent it on VOD now. It's definitely worth watching. Really well done. See, Daniel says Monkey Man trailer was killer. I felt the movie did not live up to that. Yeah, I mean, I liked Monkey Man. I thought it was well done, especially for Dave Patel's, first feature film, a directorial. I didn't love it, but I thought it was decent. I don't know. Did you see the movie?
Yeah, I want to see the movie. I wanted to go and see it in the theater, and of course now it's I think it it hit streaming, or it's about to hit streaming.
Yeah, it's on streaming already, and I think
yeah. So I do want to see it, and I thought the trailer was great. I thought they did a phenomenal job of that. Certainly, it's like keying into that whole sort of John Wick thing, the John Wick vibe. So yeah, I mean, the trailer was very enticing. How they presented the film, and it looks great. I mean, time will tell when I see the film. How does it equate to what they did in the trailer? So yeah.
Yeah, without giving anything away, I think that he leaned too heavily into the John Wick stuff.
Right.
Because it just was like constant, and it was like, okay, slow down, stop.
Yeah, we don't have to go that far, right? I can understand that. Yep.
Yeah, it just kind of got like, okay, I get it, you can fight. It was like
right, exactly, yeah.
Let's see. Another movie that recently came out that I thought had a decent trailer, but I didn't really care much for the movie. And that was the new Ghostbusters. Was it Frozen?
Yeah.
Frozen Empire, I think. Did you check that movie out?
I did see Frozen Empire. Yes, and I just thought that it was kind of a huge misstep. There's too many things that they tried to do that was very different from Ghostbusters. I really do think that it was a misfire, so much so that they really should, if they're going to do any more, they really should take a lot of time to rethink the whole process. Yeah. And the other thing too is that, remember, Ghostbusters is a comedy.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is a comedy. And when you got to Afterlife, which I really enjoyed Afterlife. I saw it a couple of times in the theater. Definitely a heartwarming film. It's a heartwarming aspect to that movie.
Oh, yeah.
When you get to the end of the 100%. Film and you're like, get out the Kleenex, that was definitely like, the tears welled up. And this one was like, I was really looking forward to it. Hey, we're back in New York and everything, but it just seemed too dark and too serious. And some of the directions that they went in seemed a little off the charts. They were trying to do some new stuff, and that's great. But yeah, I saw it twice, and I'm like, well, I wanted to like it, and then I feel like I don't really need to see it again. As were the first movie, the previous movie, I would see that again and again.
Yeah, I think sometimes they try too hard to with
Right.
these movies. You know, it doesn't need, like my dad used to say, "Kiss, keep it simple, stupid." You know, just
Yeah, right.
if
Yeah,
you,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
don't have to have all this stuff. If you keep it simple and a good story, it's going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, guys, let me know if there's any other questions you want to ask. I think we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. But yeah, one trailer that I also really liked too was Horizon. I thought that was a really well done trailer.
Oh yeah, I agree with
Um,
that. It's a phenomenal trailer. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to think here. Oh, remember back in the early '90s with the Flash TV show?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Guess what
I
came
remember- I
out on
remember those-
Blu-ray?
Oh
On
wow.
Blu-ray.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
And this is
Nice.
from a it was shot on 35, and so they were able to give this a 4K scan.
Wow.
So Yeah.
That sounds phenomenal. Yep.
yeah, I can't wait to dive into this. I think this comes out Tuesday. Yeah, I think we're going to go and wrap this up now. It's been great talking with you, man. I always love having you on. We got to have you on again.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I always enjoyed being here and chatting with you and and answering questions. Yeah. Let's do it again.
Yeah. And thanks, guys, for participating in the comments section. It's been great. And watching. We have 34 people in here right now, which is awesome. Yeah, guys. Thanks for watching. David, thanks so much for coming on. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I do a live show. If you're new here, I try to do a live show once a week, usually Wednesday and Friday. Today though worked best for us, so I don't usually do it on Sundays. But so if you're new here, subscribe and check us out with the 4K versus Blu-ray comparisons and some of the live shows that we have. And we're definitely going to have David on again for sure. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Keep physical media alive, and we will see you next time.
All right. We'll see you guys later.